The Holy Book, Sefer Kav Hayashar, Episode 64. The sages said that hosting wayfarers is greater than greeting the Shekhinah. Shabbos 127a. It is obvious that if they spoke in such terms as if this mitzvah could actually be more significant than greeting the Shekhinah, they must have been alluding to some hidden meaning. The idea then is this. The mitzvah of hosting wayfarers can be understood on two levels. On the plain level, it refers to an act that is a reflection of good character, namely that the host's generous heart prompts him to invite wayfarers into his home and to give him food and drink. This is a deed that the intellect identifies as proper and good, for through it one performs loving kindness with those coming in from the road, weary from the trials of the way, their tongues clinging to their palates out of thirst. Even if the wayfarer has the means to pay for his fare, nevertheless, when the host offers him food and drink and a mattress and linen to lie upon to refresh his soul and recuperate from his travels, the loving kindness that he does is very precious. This assumes, of course, that he does it so generously, not grudgingly. On another level, however, this mitzvah can be understood as an intimation of something deeper. Suppose you see the Holy Torah standing on the street, with no one to gather it in, no one to say, I will take it into my home, so that the sound of the Torah will be heard there day and night, and it will be a crown upon my head. Similarly, suppose you notice that a particular commandment is taken lightly and that few fulfill it. You can be certain that that commandment is just waiting for some honest and upright fellow to claim it for himself, to observe it meticulously, and to urge others to observe with love for the honor and unification of the Holy One, blessed is He. This too is clearly a form of hosting a wayfarer. Moreover, it brings about the unification of the Holy One, blessed is He, and His Shekhinah, as can be derived from a passage in the Zohar, Parshas Teruma 155b. Rabbi Yosei and Rabbi Chia were traveling along the roads while a merchant was leading his donkey after them. Rabbi Yosei said, let us engage in Torah study, for the Holy One, blessed is He, accompanies those who engage in study. So Rabbi Chia began a discourse. It is a time to act for Hashem, for they have made void your Torah. Tehillim 119.126. Rabbi Chia explained the verse as follows. Suppose that people have become neglectful of Torah study, or that they are remiss concerning a certain commandment, therefore causing the Shekhinah to be distanced from the abode of the Holy One, blessed is He. Whenever this is the case, those who tremble at Hashem's word must summon all their strength to exhort people concerning the matter. Let them say, arise and take hold of the Holy Torah, or the neglected commandment. Raise it up from the degradation it has suffered because human beings have slighted it for so long. Let us now fulfill it for the sake of the unifying, the Holy One, blessed is He, and His Shekhinah. Fortunate is the one who does this, and fortunate is his soul. This is the meaning of the verse. It is a time to act for Hashem. That is, it is a time to do something for the unification of the Holy One, blessed is He, and His Shekhinah. When is this time? Whenever people have made void your Torah. Whoever proves to be eager and meticulous in this regard will be termed the zealous one, and he will be rewarded for it. Then the merchant who was leading his donkey after them spoke up. With your permission, my teachers, surely you have interpreted this verse very well. However, there is one slight difficulty with this interpretation. According to this, the verse should have said, there is a need to act for Hashem, etc., or let us act, etc. What is meant by it is a time to act? Rabbi Yossi responded, in so many ways the road has been prepared before us. First, because we were two, and now even more so because we are three, and the Shekhinah will surely join with us. Moreover, I had thought you were nothing but a withered tree, but now I see that you are as fresh as an olive tree. So they asked the merchant to begin his discourse. The merchant explained that there are times that are under the influence of the realm of the holiness, and there are times that are under the influence of the Sitra Achara. A time that is under holy influence is called a time of favor, as it is written, and as for me, let my prayer to you, Hashem, be at a time of favor. Tehillim 69.14. This time is illuminated by the name, my Lord. Aleph Daled Nun Yud. A time that is under the influence of the Sitra Achara is called a time of afflictions. These afflictions emanate from the wicked lilies and the primordial snake. For this reason, Israel has been warned to stay far from the entrance to her house and to avoid her and all the workers of evil that are dependent upon her. Instead, they must draw as near as possible and cling as closely as possible to the time of favor, which is associated with the Shekhinah. For the Shekhinah encompasses all the souls of Israel, for which reason it is called Knesset Yisroel, the congregation of Israel, as it is known to the Kabbalists. Regarding this, the Torah warns, Koheles 3.8, there is a time to love, that is, one must love the Shekhinah, and a time to hate, that is, one must hate the Sitra Achara, which is connected with lilies. A proof to this can be drawn from the Torah's warnings to the Kohen Gadol regarding his entry into the Holy of Holies to arouse mercy for Israel, and let him not come at all times into the holy precinct. Vayikra 16.2. In other words, the Torah adjures him to enter only with thoughts of holiness, especially on Yom Kippur, which is a time of favor. For this was the day that Israel received atonement for the sin of the golden calf, for which reason it was established as a day of forgiveness and atonement for all generations. Therefore, it is forbidden for the Kohen Gadol to enter the Holy of Holies with alien thoughts emanating from the Sitra Achara, heaven forbid. Now, when Israel engages in Torah studies and observes the commandments, the rectification of the world is effected through Hashem's right hand and in a complete way, with joy and unity. But this is not the case when Israel slacks off in its studies and is remiss in its performance of the commandments and acts of loving kindness, when they are jealous of one another and all their deeds are vanity and deceit, when the name of heaven is desecrated through infringement. Then woe to them, for then the time of holiness sinks into the abyss on account of our many sins. Then the Shekhinah is no longer revealed in a whole way, nor does it radiate with great illumination. Then afflicting angels wax powerful, strengthening the hands of the other nations until they achieve dominion over Israel. Meanwhile, Israel's fortunes plummet, heaven forbid, leading to numerous evil consequences. At that time, it is announced in heaven, who is the man who trembles at the word of Hashem? Let him gird his loins like a warrior to strengthen our holy Torah, to do mitzvahs and good deeds, and to urge the multitude to fulfill the Torah and the commandments. For the time of singing has arrived. It is time to bedeck the Shekhinah, to bring her to her beloved. This is the concept of a time to act for Hashem. That is, one must work to rectify the time of favor, to reunite it with the Holy One, blessed is He. When the merchant finished his discourse, Rabbi Yosei and Rabbi Chia came and kissed him up upon the head, saying, "If we had not come into the world for any reason other than to hear this, it would have been enough for us. Fortunate is the generation of Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, in which wisdom can be found even amidst the mountains." Then they inquired, "What is your name?" He responded, "Hanan." So they blessed him with the verse, "May God give you grace, my son," Bereshit 43:29, adding, "May God hear your voice whenever you need him." Rabbi Yosei said, "Behold, the sun is going down. Behind this mountain there's a little village called by your name, the village of Hanan." So they went there for the night. They spent that night engaged in study, in the course of which the merchant revealed to them many secrets, as the Zohar relates at length. Among the things that he taught them were a number of practices that one should be careful to observe regarding meal times. First, when a person indulges himself at his table, let him recall the sanctity of the land of Israel and fret over the destruction of the holy temple. Then the Holy One, blessed is he, will reckon his anguish as if he himself rebuilt the holy temple and restored all the ruins of Jerusalem to their former state of glory. Fortunate is his lot. Second, let the one reciting the grace after meal receive the cup of blessing with both hands, having in mind that they represent the two patriarchs, Abraham and Yitzchak. Abraham corresponds to the right hand, the side of loving kindness, and Yitzchak to the left hand, the side of restraining might. The cup that is held between them represents Yaakov, who encompasses both of his forebears, as it is known in the Kabbalists. Third, one must fix one's eyes upon the cup and concentrate upon it, for in the same way does the Holy One, blessed is he, continually keep watch over Israel, his holy nation. Through this, we will merit the fulfillment of the verse, "The eyes of Hashem your God are upon the land from the beginning of the year." Fourth, the bread must remain on the table at the time of the grace, so that the table is not empty. For blessing does not settle upon any place that is empty, especially not an empty table. This is the idea behind the custom described by the sages, in which they used to surround the cup of blessings with other full cups. Barachas 51a. For the same reason, Rab Shlomo Luria, Zecher Livracha, was careful not to leave an empty vessel on the table at the time of grace, but only full ones. Since we have already begun speaking about empty vessels, I will mention another point about them concerning which the public should be made aware. It is tried and true, and therefore anyone who cares for his soul should observe it. I refer to the Zohar's warning that if any man or woman wishes to set out on a journey, or to call on the authorities to tend to some matter, and on the way out of the house he encounters an empty vessel, he should not go that day. The Zohar 1.88a, 2.87b, and 157b cites as proof a passage from 2 Malachim 4.2, in which the prophet Eliyahu asked a woman of Shunam if she had anything in the house. She replied that she had only a small jug of oil. This prompted the prophet to comment, according to the sages, that is surely something upon which a blessing can take effect, as it is written, like fine oil upon the head, like the dew of Sherman descending upon the mountains of Zion. For there Hashem has commanded the blessing, life for eternity. Tehillim 133, 2.3. Concerning an empty vessels, by contrast, it is said that the blessing cannot settle upon it. Therefore, one must remove the empty vessels from the table when the grace is recited. This should be enough of a warning. The main lessons to be derived from this chapters are that receiving wayfarers is greater than receiving the Shekhinah. 2, that when one sees a commandment that needs doing, one must gird one's loins like a warrior to fulfill it and to urge others to do so well. 3, that one must be careful, even if one is learned, to treat every man respectfully. The proof to this is that the way that Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Chia treated the merchant Hanan. In the end, they even blessed him, and they certainly did not lord over him. Additionally, one must be careful to observe 4 practices that I mentioned in connection with meals. The most important of which began that no empty vessels should remain on the table at the time of the grace after meals is recited. Then Hashem's blessing will fill the cup of blessings, for there Hashem has commanded the blessing.